All right, welcome back to the Top 25 Voter Pod. I'm Brice Cherry. This is John Werner. Johnny, how are we doing?
Oh, good, Brice. You need to show our viewers that cap.
Yes, it is a North Carolina Tar Heel cap.
Right, and we'll be referring to them later in the podcast.
I really only put it on because I'm wearing a blue shirt and, blue and blue. But yeah, we will. We do have a reference to North Carolina in the podcast later, but it's not to rub it in for Baylor.
Okay.
So John, Saturday is senior day at the Farrell Center for both the men and the women. They'll both have their final home games. The men host Iowa State. The women welcome in West Virginia. So talk to me a little bit about, the men's senior class and kind of what they've meant to this program.
Yeah, now I will say senior day has become a little blurred with the COVID year because most of these guys haven't eligibility left.
Mm-hmm.
The one guy who doesn't is Flo Thamba.
Right.
And he's never been a star of the team, but he has been a staple. 3-year starter, the winningest player ever in Baylor men's basketball history.
That's an incredible achievement in itself.
Yeah, it is. And, he's been valuable to the team, just mostly for his defense and rebounding. He scores a little bit, but not a lot. But yeah, he's been a solid player. Now obviously, Adam Flagler has been a tremendous player. He transferred from Presbyterian, had to redshirt a year, which they don't have to do anymore. I think he really gained from that, and great contributor off the bench for the 2021 national championship team. Starter the last 2 years, and the guy's he just keeps getting better. Always a great shooter. He's stronger now. He can drive to the hoop better. He's become one of their best defensive players. Yeah, he's just been tremendous. Now, John, I'm not sure if he's going to be honored as a senior because he obviously has eligibility left. But anyway, his defensive skills are tremendous. Co-defensive player of the year last year in the Big 12. He's helped them since he's come back. His offense has gotten a lot better too since he's come back. He's really developed his three-point shot. Now Dale, everybody just calls him a tremendous teammate, Dale Bonner. He's played a lot first half of the year, Big 12, hadn't played a whole lot until the last 2 games when they've needed him after Keontae George went out. Scored 13 against Texas, got some big defensive plays, 15 against Oklahoma State. That's his career high at Baylor. He really ramps up their defense when he's in there. He's been a pretty big factor in the last 2 wins. So all those guys have been pretty big contributors to the program.
Yeah, and on the women's side, they have 4, but on the roster. But as you said, I believe only 2 are getting honored on Saturday, and that would be Caitlin Bickle and Jamie Asberry. Mm-hmm. So Jaden Owens is also a senior. From what I understand, she is going to try to utilize that extra year and come back. And then their other one is Asia Blackwell, who, kind of an awkward situation. She really just hasn't played much for Baylor just because she transferred before this season and got injured. And, she was good when she got in there, but, I believe she's going to obviously try to make her way into professional basketball. So, obviously they'll wish Asia the best of luck. As for Bickle and Asberry, though, so let's start with Jamie. She's a transfer from Oklahoma State and really came in with the reputation as a shooter. But I think that, her defensive contributions may be, just as important to Baylor. There's been games where Jamie has, especially this season, where she hasn't shot the ball that well, 3 for 11 kind of nights. And yet she's always on the court. Like, she plays as many minutes as anyone. And it's really because Nicki trusts her a lot as a defender. And she's not very big, but she's quick. She competes. And like, she does little things, like Nicki says, she's the best closeout on the perimeter. If somebody is going out for, an open shot, she'll get there, she's just smart, and she does get a lot of steals too, some run out layups. And she's had big games too, where she shot the ball well. So Jamie's one, and then Caitlin Bickle, obviously the other. And to me, Caitlin's been their MVP this year. It's been interesting to see her career kind of develop because, she came in a very highly recruited class with Nalissa Smith and Queen Egbo. And those players certainly got more minutes back then. But Caitlin was kind of, into the bench a lot of times in Kim Mulkey's rotation. I think some of that may have been defensively, but when Nicki got here, she started giving Caitlin more and more of a role. This is technically the first year she's really been a starter. She always came off the bench before this season, but she's easily having her best all-around season. And they're so much better when she's on the court. I mean, she sees the game, she communicates, she rebounds, she's scrappy. She's just, I called her a calming influence in a story, and I think that's what she is. So Bickle and Asberry, they'll celebrate on Saturday. And then, I guess Jaden's coming back and Asia's moving on. So the COVID year did make things sort of puzzling, I guess.
Right, exactly.
So in a column earlier this week, I talked about how I thought that Baylor win over Texas in Austin, the women, that was Nicki Collen's best coaching job yet. John, you were obviously following the men that night, but but you were also keeping up with the women. What do you think?
Yeah, I was impressed. I mean, let's see, did they lead from start to finish?
That was, I think, maybe, no, they didn't. Texas got out to a 7-2 lead.
Okay.
But they led the entire second half.
Okay.
And,
yeah.
And that was with Texas cutting into the lead, getting it to 2 and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I was just impressed how they always had an answer for Texas. Here's a Texas team that they could have clinched the Big 12 title, a share of it.
Right.
And on their court.
Yeah.
And, this is a Baylor team that's been a little up and down. And man, they just played great. They were really efficient. They played good defense. I was just really impressed, just, how they got the ball to different players in the right spots all night. And, like I said, against a really good team too.
Yeah.
So, so what'd you think?
Absolutely. I mean, obviously, there were 10,000 people there. It was legit. It was kind of a Laker crowd in that it was late arriving, but that was somewhat you could attribute to the fact that it was a 6 o'clock tip. We don't have a lot of 6 o'clocks, 6:30, sure, but so it was an early tip. But the fact that they stayed so calm and just, like I said, in the second half, never gave up the lead. And there were a lot of things that kind of were stacked against them, like Caitlin Bickle picking up her third foul early in the third quarter. As I said earlier, they're a lot better when Caitlin's on the court. A lot when she leaves, a lot of times, you can see things, you can see the cracks start to develop. Then, like a minute later, Bella Fauntleroy gets her fourth foul. So now here comes Kyla Abraham into the game. She hasn't hardly played all year and does well. And then Kyla gets 2 quick fouls in like 12 seconds, and they bring in Erica Porter, who has played probably even less. And, and she scrapped and stuff. I just thought Nicki pushed all the right buttons, made all the right moves.
Mhm.
Just, she used a zone for a little bit in the first half. Mark Rosner, who he came up to me and he was like, do they use the zone? And I was like, no, they really don't. And but it worked for that stretch. And he goes, yeah, Vic would never, he's just like kind of like Kim Mulkey in that regard, just very stubborn. He's going to go man to man all the time. And I just thought, it was a testament to a team a little bit with nothing to lose, but certainly that was well coached. I thought Nicki just had the right game plan. They executed it, and she's kept this team, focused despite, like, as you said, the ups and downs that they've had. They've managed to keep battling, and, if they win on Saturday, they'll go into the Big 12 tournament with a 4-game winning streak. So, it's been a good finish to the season.
Right. Yeah.
So, meanwhile, the Baylor men, they're not going to three-peat as Big 12 champs. So Kansas clinched the title there. But my question is this. So could a healthier Baylor team go deeper in the NCAA tournament after bowing out last year in overtime to North Carolina?
Oh, yeah.
In the second round?
Yeah, I think they could. They were pretty hamstrung last year. I think it's pretty remarkable that they tied Kansas for the title with all the injuries they had all year. But you kind of they were running on fumes a little bit, maybe on adrenaline, maybe. And they ran into a really good, underrated North Carolina team in that second round, which eventually made the championship game. But yeah, obviously, Jonathan Chama-Chachua was out with a February terrible knee injury against Texas. LJ Cryer was out. He had foot fracture, stress fractures in his feet. So that's your best defensive player and probably your best 3-point shooter out for the NCAA tournament. So yeah, I definitely think they can. They've been relatively healthy. Now, of course, Keontae sprained his ankle in the last game or 2 games ago against Texas. Langston Love, he's scratched his eye against Oklahoma State, but I think both those guys will be back by then. And really, playing guys like Dale Bonner, who, as I mentioned earlier, is a really good defensive player. I think he really gives that side of the ball a boost, and he's shown he can score a little. So their bench is deep, it's healthy. Josh Ojianwuna, yeah, that's how you say it.
We call him Old John Werner.
Yeah, that's probably a better way to pronounce it. But he hasn't even played much lately, and he was playing well, before Everyday John came back. So they've got a deeper bench, a healthy bench. And a lot of it will obviously depend on matchups, but I would think this would at least be a Sweet 16 team because it looks like they're going to probably get a 2 seed. So you're getting some, that's a pretty good edge right there, unless you just run into a really hot team.
Yeah, they are streaky. And, we've talked about their defensive deficiencies this year. I mean, that could catch up to them in a game, I think.
Right.
But given that how much talent they have and the stretches of really good ball that they have put together, I mean, to me, they could go anywhere from second round to Final Four,
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it's a big gap there, but to me, that's their sort of talent level. I mean, they're just I I feel like they can certainly get beat, but they could also make them run. So it's a weird team, but they certainly have some guys that could get hot in the tournament and carry you for a while. I mean, to me, Keontae George, I mean, this could be his kind of coming out party for the country. So,
yeah. And like you said, yeah, they are streaky. And a lot of that is because they depend so much on 3-point shooting. So usually if they have a couple guys hot, deep, they're probably going to win. If they have like 3 guys who, can't hit anything, they're probably going to lose. So, but yeah, they've got talent, but yeah, it's a pretty wide berth as far as they could go.
Sure. One thing when you mentioned the injuries, this is just a random thing, but I had some friends texted to me yesterday. Did you see what Matthew Meyer missed a game for at Illinois yesterday or this week?
Yeah, he's loading up on energy drinks.
Yeah, he was loaded up on energy drinks and got caffeine poisoning. Like that must be a lot of energy drinks.
Well, I think he said he had 5.
I read 6. 6 energy drinks. Maybe that's how Matthew Meyer time, would happen. Would be like, just before he would come in and do one of those crazy dunks that he would have, he just, suck down an energy drink.
Knowing his personality and everything, that's not that surprising. That's something nutty like that would happen to him.
Yeah, yep. The old Matthew Meyer time. All hopped up on energy drinks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So we are obviously coming to the end of the Big 12 season. So who would your pick? I'll give you the men. I'll tackle the women. Who would your pick for the Big 12 Player of the Year be?
Well, I think both of those are real slam dunks, player and coach. Jalen Wilson, Kansas forward, leading the Big 12 in scoring 20 points per game, rebounding over 8. And plus they won the title. I mean, that's a pretty easy pick. And I think coach of the year is even easier. Jerome Tang should probably be national coach of the year. They were picked last in the Big 12. They had 2 players back. He pretty much had to reform that whole roster. And he's got the fans really excited up there. You've probably seen his dancing on the tabletops and, singing with the crowd after the game. But yeah, he's done an amazing job there.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we've talked obviously a lot about Coach Tang and the job that he's done, all season. And you're right. He deserves national attention, not just Big 12 attention, just for the turnaround that he did there in the very first season. So for me on the women's side, I wrote about it in my column this week, but I really went into Austin kind of ready to coronate, Rory Harmon as the Player of the Year. And she didn't play well in that game against Baylor, but that to me wasn't the reason. I've kind of waffled now on that. She was a little bit of I wouldn't say a little bit of an out there pick, but just like if you just look at the stats on the women's side, the stat wise, it's Ashley Jones at Iowa State. She's a 20-point scorer. She gets rebounds. She's a shooter. Iowa State's a good team. All of that. But to me, Rory was as Nicki Collen described her, the head of the snake for Texas. That she was the one that made them go. She's a great defender. Passer. She's among the national leaders in assists. She does not shoot from the outside. And that's, kind of a hole in her game, but she can get to the basket and she's still very, very effective, even though she's not a 3-point shooter. She is one of the best point guards in the country. Like I said, had a rough game. She had 12 points, but was like 5 of 18. to me, that didn't really affect my thinking at all. But after the game, I thought it was a little alarming that she really threw her teammates under the bus. And I'm sitting over there transcribing, John, and I'm still catching the Texas press conference. Fortunately, Baylor went first, so I'm doing my thing, but I'm listening to what they're saying. And when she was saying all this stuff, I was just like, because she was like, basically, I played hard. I'm disappointed that nobody else played hard. I mean, and I was just thinking, man, that first of all, you still have a chance to win this thing.
Mhm.
You have another game left. You're going to need those teammates. And I don't know. I mean, to me, it's something maybe you say in the locker room, but I just can't imagine saying it to the media. And I don't know. It did not scream leadership to me. And that was kind of the way I was going with my thinking, that she was their leader. So all that to say, that's a long-winded way of saying, I think I'm going Ashley Jones. Because she is good. And I will say, to me, there isn't a slam dunk this year in that award for the women's game. I mean, I think you could make a case for several different players. I mean, Gabby Gregory at Kansas State's a really good player. Breamber Scott at Texas Tech's a really good player. Those teams aren't as good, so I think that hurts their candidacy. Tiana Jackson at Kansas is among the national leaders in rebounds and block shots. However, Baylor, when they played her twice, pretty much shut her down. So to me, I don't think her case is as strong. But Ashley Jones is really good, and you can't go wrong there. As far as coach of the year on the women's side, so obviously, if Texas goes on and wins it, Vic Schaefer's going to get a lot of consideration. But to me, the coach of the year is JC Hoyt. She is a first-year coach at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
And they've just been infinitely better in her first season there in Stillwater. I've had them ranked in the top 25 the last few years. They won here at Waco. Hadn't done that in a while. They're just, in her first year, she's essentially, got them right at the top, near the top of the conference. And it's been quite a turnaround. So, maybe less heralded than Jerome Tang. I mean, obviously, he's got his up near the top 10 in the country, but certainly a really good coaching job in her first season. So I think JC Hoyt would probably get my vote for coach of the year, but certainly, like I said, if Texas does finish it off, you can make a case for Vic. I mean, he's done a good job there. This is his third season, and they have gone to 2 Elite Eights in his first 2 years, and obviously have another good team this season.
Sounds good, Brice.
All right. Well, so we have Senior Day Saturday. That's where we'll be, and then next week, Johnny, I think we'll be recording a podcast together, like side by side in Kansas City. What do you think?
So do you want to do it at Stroud's or Joe's?
Can't go wrong either way. We might record 2 podcasts, or we might also we might need about 6 energy drinks. We need some Matthew Meyer time, because we're gonna be like, oh.
Well, I'm not gonna ask Matt for advice on that, because obviously, he had some bad effects.
That's right. All right, we'll see you guys later.
Okay, see ya.
See ya.